The Earth's atmosphere contains around 21% oxygen along with 78% nitrogen and 1% other gases such as carbon dioxide, neon, and hydrogen. Although oxygen is not as abundant in our atmosphere as nitrogen, it is the most important for life. We humans, along with many other creatures, need oxygen in the air we breathe to stay alive. Without oxygen, we wouldn't be able to do anything since our bodies need oxygen to obtain energy to fuel all our living processes. 90% of our energy comes from oxygen, with the rest coming from food and water. So without oxygen, we wouldn't be able to survive even for a few minutes. Now this sounds like we could all use some more oxygen in the air we breathe. So what if we cranked up the oxygen levels to 42% in the atmosphere? Surely this would only be a good news for us all. So let's explore what would happen if we doubled the amount of oxygen in the Earth's atmosphere. But as always, be sure to hit the subscribe button if you're new here for more content ahead. There was around 30% oxygen in the Earth's atmosphere in its younger days a few 100 million years ago during the prehistoric times. Because of this, the insects and bugs were much larger than they are today. Centipedes and millipedes could grow up to the size of crocodiles, while dragonflies were as large as hawks. The reason insects grow bigger faster is because of the way they breathe. They breathe with a network of tiny tubes called trachea, which enables them to absorb oxygen much more efficiently, causing them to swell up. However, other mammals of that time period were also not far behind in terms of their sizes. Now, if there was double the quantity of oxygen in the atmosphere that we have today, which would be around 40%, we can be certain that all insects and animals would be much larger. It wouldn't be far-fetched to see cockroaches as large as rats and spiders and other insects as big as small birds of today. Not only insects, but other mammals would also double or triple in size. Flowers would grow as big as modern trees, while large trees would reach the sizes of skyscrapers. Now that would be an unreal sight to be seen. However, with so much oxygen in the atmosphere, things will catch on fire a lot more easily than they do now. This is because oxygen is a key component in igniting fires. So forest fires would be a common occurrence throughout the world. This wouldn't be such a good news for vegetation and other crop fields either. But there would be other benefits to this, like cars running on very less fuel, making the cost of fuel decrease drastically. So then, what would actually happen to us in this situation? Well, we would have a lot more energy from the excessive oxygen in the air and would be much stronger and faster than anyone today. We would grow much taller over time and perhaps evolve into 2 to 3 meter tall giants with enormous strength as compared to now. We would also be able to shatter any world record of today in a blink of an eye. Now, if super strength and stamina wasn't enough, we would have a much better blood circulation, due to which we will be much more alert and active. And since our brains will receive more oxygen, we will definitely be smarter than we are today. Infections and diseases would be a thing of the past, since our blood would contain a much larger number of neutrophils, which are cells that destroy viruses and bacteria. So say goodbye, COVID-19. However, too much of a good thing can also be a bad thing. When exposed to too much oxygen, people can get oxygen poisoning because our bodies can only take up to a certain level of it. Long-term exposure to high oxygen levels would cause many complications such as lung damage, heart disease, and vision impairment. Another downfall of so much oxygen in the air would be the access of free radicals. Free radicals are unstable atoms that can damage cells, causing illness and aging. They also increase the chances of developing cancer and damaged DNA. The Earth would also be impacted heavily by this increase in the amount of oxygen in the atmosphere. The atmosphere will become denser, scattering and diffusing more sunlight, which would lead to less vapor in the air, oxidizing the environment. This would be bad news for many plants and animals, as well as anything made of metal. Most metal products would start to rust really quickly because of the presence of so much oxygen. So pretty much everything will either be dying, rusting, or catching on fire. So it is safe to assume that doubling the oxygen levels in the environment wouldn't be such a good idea after all. And that's what would happen if we doubled the amount of oxygen in the air. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button, share with your friends and family, and subscribe to our channel for more. Until then, we'll see you in the next one.